Festus became a millionaire the night he stole from a dying man. 2 years later, he's still paying for it. Because the money didn't just buy his wife's life. It bought a debt that only blood can settle. And they're coming to collect. If you believe every blessing has a price, hit the like button now. There are men in this world who wake up before the sun, not because they want to, but because survival doesn't wait for daylight. Festus was one of those men. Every morning at 5 o'clock, he would rise from the thin mattress he shared with his wife in their one-room apartment. The springs creaked. The room smelled of kerosene and yesterday's beans. He would stand at the cracked mirror and stare at the man looking back, a good man whose goodness had earned him nothing but calloused hands and empty pockets. Festus was a mechanic in someone else's garage, fixing cars worth more than he would earn in 5 lifetimes. Mercedes-Benz, Range Rover, Porsche. Every day, these metal gods rolled in, and he would worship them with his tools. He knew every engine like a love song. His hands were magic, oil-stained, scarred, poor magic. When the wealthy owners came to collect their cars, smelling of expensive cologne, wearing watches that could feed a family for a year, they would hand him crumpled notes. "Well done, mechanic." Never his name, just mechanic. And Festus would smile because a man who shows his pain to the rich becomes their entertainment. But every evening, when he returned to that cramped room, the smile died at the doorway. One bed, one table, a ceiling that leaked when it rained. Walls so thin you could hear the neighbors' lives happening in full color, while his remained black and white. But none of that mattered because waiting there was Amma, his wife, his breath, his reason for pretending the world wasn't crushing him slowly. She was beautiful in the way morning light is beautiful, quiet, gentle, necessary. Amma never complained. She would take his small salary and perform miracles with it, cooking meals from nothing, singing while she worked. At night, lying on their creaking bed, Amma would trace patterns on his chest. "One day," she would whisper, "we'll have a real home, with a kitchen, and maybe a child." Festus would hold her tighter and lie. "Soon, Amma, very soon." But recently, something had changed. Amma had started coughing. At first it was nothing, just a clearing of the throat, but the cough grew persistent, aggressive. One night, Festus came home to find her bent over the sink, blood on her lips, on her hand, staining the white cloth she'd been coughing into. The world stopped spinning. The hospital doctor delivered his verdict like a death sentence. Tumor in her lung, advanced stage, surgery required immediately, 800,000 naira, you have 1 week. 800,000. Festus made 70,000 a month. After rent, food, transport, he saved maybe 10,000. Do the math. It's brutal, impossible. 1 week to find a miracle, or watch his wife die. That night, holding Amma while she slept, Festus wanted to scream, to curse God and the world that made poverty a crime punishable by death. But he just held her and prayed to a God he wasn't sure was listening. The next morning, Amma woke and found him sitting on the bed's edge, head in his hands. "Don't worry," she said softly. "God will provide." He looked at this woman who was dying and still comforting him, and something inside shattered. "What if God doesn't provide, Amma?" She smiled that devastating smile. "Then we face it together. If I die, don't blame yourself. You've been a good husband. I've been happy. If you've ever felt helpless watching someone you love suffer, like this video right now, That night, alone in the workshop after everyone left, surrounded by cars worth millions while his wife died for lack of thousands, Festus wept. And in that moment, something stirred in his memory. His grandfather's voice from years ago. Our family carries old blood, Festus. When the world pushes you to the edge, the blood will answer, but be careful what you awaken. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. And comment your location below. I want to know where my amazing viewers are watching from. I read every comment, and I will be giving shout out in my next video. Shout out to Constance Benjamin from Miami, Ziggy Marley from Maryland, and Nampilo from South Africa. Now back to the story. Desperation makes beggars of proud men. Festus went to his friends first. Tom, his childhood friend, who always said, "We're brothers, nothing can separate us," opened his door, holding a star beer, music blasting from inside. When Festus asked to borrow money for Amma's surgery, Tom's smile faded. "Things are hard, guy. I just paid my rent." From inside the house, someone shouted, "Tom, come spray this money. We're celebrating your new car." New car. They both heard it. They both pretended they hadn't. "Let me see what I can do next week," Tom said. He never called. That same night, Festus saw Tom's Instagram story, in a club, new Gucci shirt, spraying Naira notes in the air like confetti, champagne in hand. He went to 3 more friends over the next 2 days. Each one had an excuse: school fees, new generator. "When will you pay me back? Make I no add to your burden." Each rejection was a knife. Each excuse was a betrayal. On the 4th day, Festus went to his uncle, the one who preached about family being everything. "Uncle, please, Amma will die." His uncle didn't even turn off his TV. "You should have been saving for emergencies. What have you been doing with your salary? I have my own children to think about." Manage your resources better, as if poverty was a budgeting error. The bank was his final hope. He filled out a loan application with shaking hands. The loan officer looked at his papers like garbage. "Your income is too low, no collateral, no guarantor. We can't approve this." "But my wife will die." "I'm sorry, sir. We have policies." Sorry, the word that means nothing, the word that changes nothing. That night, Festus came home to find Amma trying to be strong, trying to smile even though her body was failing. They sat holding hands in that dark room, 2 people drowning with no one willing to throw them a rope. Later, Festus stood at the window looking out at Lagos. Somewhere, people were spending hundreds of thousands on champagne. And here he was, watching his wife die for lack of money that wouldn't buy those people a wristwatch. That's when the dark thought entered his mind. What if morality was a luxury only the rich could afford? Thursday night came with rain, not gentle rain, but angry rain, the kind that floods streets and drowns the city in darkness. Festus had worked late, hoping for a salary, advance that never came. It was past 9 when he locked the garage and began the long walk home. His shoes were soaked. In 2 days, the hospital deadline would pass. He was walking past the expressway when he heard it. The screech of tires, the crunch of metal, the hiss of a dying engine. Up ahead, barely visible through rain and darkness, a Mercedes-Benz AMG had crashed into a streetlight. Smoke poured from the crumpled hood. The door hung open like a broken jaw. Festus ran toward it. Inside, slumped against the steering wheel, was a man bleeding from his forehead. His expensive agbada was soaked red. "Help," the man whispered. Please, help. Festus pulled him from the car, laid him on wet asphalt, tried to remember first aid. I'll call an ambulance, but the man grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. No, time. Back seat, bag, take it. Festus looked into the back seat. There, partially unzipped, was a black duffel bag revealing stacks of crisp Naira notes. More money than Festus had ever seen. His mind went blank. All he could see was Amma coughing blood, dying. The doctor's cold face saying, 1 week. He looked at the dying man, then the bag, then the rain falling like tears of angels who'd given up on the world. Please, the man whispered. Help, me. And Festus understood. The man wasn't talking about the bag anymore. He was talking about his life. Call an ambulance, stay with him, save him. That's what a good man would do. But good men watch their wives die. His grandfather's warning echoed, when the world pushes you to the edge, you'll discover what you really are, and you might not like it. His hands closed around the bag. I'm sorry. God forgive me. He stood up. The man's hand fell to the ground. Please, don't leave. But Festus was already walking away, then running, splashing through puddles, the bag heavy on his shoulder. Behind him, a man died alone in the rain. Would you have saved the man or saved your wife? Comment yes or no right now. Festus didn't go home. He went to a cheap hotel and counted the money with shaking hands. 850,000 Naira, exactly what he needed. It was cursed. He could feel it. But Amma was dying. At 7 a.m., he called the hospital. I have the money. Schedule the surgery today. The doctor raised his eyebrows at the cash, but money silences questions. The surgery lasted 6 hours. Festus sat in the waiting room, but couldn't pray. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the dying man's face, heard his voice. Please, don't leave. What had the man's name been? Did he have a wife? Children? Finally, the doctor emerged. The surgery was successful. Your wife will make a full recovery. Festus collapsed, weeping tears of gratitude and guilt. 2 weeks later, they moved to a better apartment, 2 bedrooms, a working kitchen, running water. Festus bought new clothes for Amma, real food, chicken, fish, rice without stones. For the first time, in 6 years, Amma didn't have to perform miracles with poverty. She recovered quickly, color returning to her cheeks. Festus, how did you do this? Where did the money come from? He kissed her forehead, unable to meet her eyes. God answered our prayers. But God had nothing to do with it. At night, the truth came for him. He would wake drenched in sweat, having seen the dying man in dreams. Sometimes the man spoke. Sometimes he just stared. Help me. Why didn't you help me? Amma would wake beside him. Another nightmare? You need rest. But rest doesn't come to men who leave others to die. During the day, he felt it too. A presence, eyes watching, shadows moving wrong. The feeling of being hunted. 3 weeks after the accident, the news report came on. A reporter stood at the crash site. Authorities are investigating the death of Jonathan Okonkwo, suspected treasurer for the Black Serpent crime syndicate. Millions in cash reportedly in his possession are missing. Festus's blood turned to ice. Mafia. The dying man was mafia. The money was crime money, blood money, belonging to people who didn't forgive or forget. That night, Festus lay awake, knowing they would come. The mafia doesn't let millions disappear. They would investigate, ask questions, find witnesses. They would find him. 3 nights later, he heard it, a knock at 3 a.m. from people who don't care about sleep. The door exploded inward. 3 men in black, faces masked, one holding a gun. Festus ran, crashed through the back window, glass slicing his skin. Behind him, gunshots. He ran through alleys, over fences, through dark markets, his lungs screaming. He hid in an abandoned building until dawn, then called Amma. "Go to your sister's house. Right now. Don't pack. Just go." Running wouldn't save him. The mafia never stops. If you believe evil should never win, smash that like button now. Festus had nowhere else to go, so he went to his grandfather's house on the outskirts of Lagos. The old man lived in a village modernization had forgotten, in a house older than Nigeria itself. Mud walls, thatched roof, ancient trees whispering secrets. People said grandfather practiced the old ways, saw things others couldn't, had powers the church couldn't explain. Festus found him smoking a pipe, staring at the sunset as if he'd been expecting him. "Grandfather, you took something that wasn't yours," the old man said without turning. Festus froze. "How did you—" "Sit!" The old man finally looked at him with clouded eyes that still saw too much. "I warned you when you were a boy. I told you our blood carries something old, powerful, dangerous. I thought you were just telling stories." The old man smiled, sadly. "All stories are true, Festus. We just forget which ones matter. Your father did the same thing once, stole money he thought would save him, and his father before him. Our blood hungers for power, because power was denied to our ancestors. We reach for it even when it burns us. I had no choice. Amma was dying. There is always a choice, but I'm not here to judge. The dead man's blood is on your hands now, and his people want yours in return. They're going to kill me, kill Amma. Yes, unless you become what you were always meant to be." The old man disappeared into the house and returned with a wooden box carved with symbols that seemed to move in the lamplight. "Our family comes from warriors, before the British, before Nigeria, before borders drawn by men who never walked our soil. We were protectors who made pacts with forces older than any god you pray to on Sunday." He opened the box. Inside was a small charm carved from bone, wrapped in red thread, stained with dried blood. It hummed with energy that made Festus's skin prickle. "This belonged to your great-great-grandfather, Adewale the Unkillable. Blades broke against his skin. Bullets turned from his flesh. The power runs in our blood, but it sleeps until awakened." Festus stared at the charm, remembering that childhood warning. "How do I awaken it?" His grandfather's face grew serious. "Blood calls to blood. Fear calls to strength. When they come again, speak the old words, the words of our fathers." He placed the charm in Festus's hand. The moment it touched his skin, Festus felt a jolt, a connection, like something sleeping inside him, recognizing its name. "Wear this always, never remove it, and when death stands before you, speak these words." The old man whispered in ancient Yoruba, not the modern tongue, but the language of warriors and kings. Words that tasted like iron and earth and lightning. Festus repeated them until they lived in his mouth. "But remember," his grandfather said, gripping his shoulder, "power always demands payment. You took a life to get the money. The money is buying you power. One day, the debt will come due. Be ready to pay it." That night, Festus dreamed of warriors in moonlight, his great-great-grandfather standing in battle, surrounded by enemies. The bloodline was clear: power, desperation, consequences. Festus returned to Lagos and didn't run anymore. He went to the destroyed apartment and waited. The charm hung beneath his shirt, warm, alive, humming with ancient purpose. They came at midnight, 5 men armed with guns and machetes. They kicked down the door and flooded in. Festus stood in the center, hands at his sides, calm. The leader laughed. "You're either brave or stupid, mechanic." "Neither, just tired of running?" "Good, makes this easier." The leader raised his gun, and Festus spoke the ancient words. The air changed, a pressure, a charge, like the moment before lightning strikes. The charm burned hot, and something inside Festus erupted. His vision sharpened. He could see the leader's finger tightening on the trigger, see the hammer falling, see the bullet waiting. Time slowed. Then everything exploded. Festus moved faster than thought, faster than fear, faster than bullets. He saw the bullet leave the gun, actually saw it suspended in slow motion, and moved aside. It passed through where he'd been and buried itself in the wall. The men stared, shocked. Festus didn't think. His body moved on instinct older than civilization, guided by warrior spirits who'd worn this charm before him. He disarmed the leader, broke the man's wrist with a sound like dry wood snapping. The others attacked. Festus became a storm. Every punch landed with impossible force. A machete swung at his head. He caught the blade with his bare hand. It didn't cut. The steel pressed against his palm, but couldn't break skin. He yanked it away and sent the man flying. Another fired 3 shots point blank. The bullets curved away or passed through him. He was untouchable, unkillable. Like Adawal before him, within minutes, all 5 men lay groaning on the ground. Festus stood over them, breathing steady, not even winded. The leader looked up in fear. What are you?" Festus crouched down. "I'm the descendant of warriors, the blood of kings, the man you should have left alone. Go back to your boss. Tell him what happened. Tell him I'm not running. Tell him the money is gone. And if he wants more blood, he knows where to find me." He let them crawl away into the night. As he watched them disappear, Festus felt power, but also unease. His grandfather's warning echoed, "Power always demands payment." The mafia didn't believe in miracles. When the men returned with their story, Tom the Viper Nwankwo listened in silence. The Viper had built the Black Serpent not just with violence, but with philosophy. He believed the world divided into predators and prey, and pretending otherwise was the real crime. He'd grown up poor like Festus, but where Festus tried to stay good, the Viper embraced ruthlessness as virtue. "You let 1 man defeat 5 of you," the Viper said, lighting a cigar. "This mechanic thinks he can disrespect the Black Serpent and live. That cannot stand. Not because of money. Money is replaceable, but fear is currency. If word spreads that 1 man can defy us..." He stood, walked to his penthouse window. "I built this from nothing. I used to be like him, poor, desperate, invisible. But I learned life's most important lesson. Mercy is weakness. Compassion is luxury that gets you killed. The strong take, the weak give. That's not cruelty. That's truth." He turned to his men. "Send 20 this time. Find him and bring him to me alive. I want to look him in the eye before he dies. I want to show him that whatever power he has is nothing compared to mine." Over the next week, the mafia hunted Festus, but Festus was hunting them. Festus used what money remained to buy information: names, addresses, locations of drug houses, and counting operations. One by one, he dismantled them. He hit their drug warehouse first, walking through the front door while guards watched in disbelief. He moved through them like a blade through water. When it was over, he set drugs worth millions on fire and walked out through the flames. Next, their money-counting house. 10 minutes later, he walked out carrying bags of cash while unconscious bodies lay behind. He gave it all to police anonymously, with evidence of the mafia's operations. Word spread through Lagos's underworld. The mechanic was coming, and no one could stop him. The Viper grew desperate, angry, then intrigued. This man is more like me than he knows. He's willing to do whatever it takes. He's discovered his power. He's become the predator. I want to meet him. The message reached Festus. Come to the abandoned textile factory in Mushin. Midnight. Come alone and we talk. Bring backup, and Amma dies. Festus went, not because he trusted them, but because running was over. The factory was massive. 3 stories of rusted machinery, lit only by moonlight through holes in the roof. The Viper stood in the center, surrounded by 20 armed men. But he wore an expensive white agbada and gold jewelry, unarmed, confident. So you're the mechanic destroying my empire. Festus walked closer, calm. I didn't want your empire. I just wanted to save my wife. And you did, but you used my money, Jonathan's money I entrusted to him. Jonathan was dying. The money was doing nothing for him. The Viper tilted his head. Do you know why I built all this? Because I was you. I was poor once, watching people I loved suffer while the rich walked past like we were invisible. I learned the world respects only one thing: power, not goodness, not hard work, not prayers. Power. He stepped closer. You and I are the same. We both did terrible things to protect what we love. We both discovered morality is luxury. We both became predators to survive. The only difference is I accepted what I am. You're still pretending to be something else. We're nothing alike, Festus said quietly. You hurt people for profit. I hurt people who hurt me. Is that what you tell yourself? You left. A man to die in the rain. You stole his money. You've killed or maimed dozens of my men. And you think you're different because you have a good reason? The words hit Festus like physical blows because they were true. The world doesn't care about your reasons. It only cares about results. You wanted power. You took it. Now use it. Join me. No. The Viper's smile faded. Then you're a fool. He removed his agbada, revealing scars and lean muscle. He pulled out fighting sticks, eskrima carved from ironwood. Let's see if your magic works against someone who knows how to fight. They clashed in the factory center. The Viper was different, trained, disciplined, fast. His fighting sticks blurred through the air. Festus dodged and blocked, but the Viper was relentless, finding gaps in his defense. A stick cracked against Festus's ribs. Pain exploded. The charm made him hard to kill, but not invincible. Not against someone this skilled. They fought through the factory, up staircases, across catwalks. Festus used enhanced strength and speed, but the Viper used technique and experience. You're strong, the Viper gasped between strikes, but strength without skill is just noise. He was right. Festus was winning through raw power, barely. Finally, on the 3rd floor surrounded by moonlight, they stood facing each other, both bleeding, both exhausted. Last chance. Join me or die. Festus thought about Amma, the life they'd built, the man he'd left to die. I'll die first. So be it. The Viper attacked with everything. But this time, Festus didn't fight like a warrior. He fought like a mechanic. He studied the Viper's movements like an engine, found the pattern, the rhythm, the weakness. When the Viper overextended, Festus caught the fighting stick, yanked him forward, and drove his fist into the man's solar plexus with all the force the charm would give. The viper crumpled. "You were wrong," Festus said. "We're not the same. Because when this is over, I'm going. Home to my wife. You're going to prison." The viper laughed, coughing blood. "You think the police can hold me?" Festus smiled grimly. "It already has." Because while they'd fought, police had surrounded the building. Anonymous tips had led them there with evidence of every black serpent crime. Sirens wailed. The viper's eyes widened. "You used this fight as a distraction. I learned from you, power is the only thing that matters. Right now, I have it. You don't." As police flooded in, the viper called after him. "You can't escape what you are. You're a killer now, just like me." Festus paused. "Maybe, but at least I'm a killer who saves people. What are you?" He disappeared into the chaos. If you believe justice should win, hit that like button. 2 years later, the house on the hill overlooked Lagos like a promise kept. The sun set in gold and purple. Amma stood on the balcony watering her garden, healthy and radiant. Festus joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "The sunset is beautiful tonight." "Not as beautiful as you," she laughed, that laugh that saved him more than any ancestral power. Festus had built a mechanics training center for poor young men, teaching them not just about engines, but about dignity, options, choosing who you become. People respected him. No one knew about the rainy night, the dying man, the mafia, the charm that still hummed beneath his shirt. That story was buried beneath new life. But buried doesn't mean forgotten. Amma turned in his arms. "Festus, I need to tell you something." His heart skipped. "What is it?" She placed his hand on her stomach. "I'm pregnant." Tears sprang to his eyes. Joy, terror, wonder mixed together. "There's something else," she said gently. "I know, Festus, about the money, about what you did." He froze. "How?" "I've always known. I saw the news. I saw how you changed. I felt you haunted at night. I know you took that money from a dying man to save me." Festus couldn't speak. "I don't blame you. How could I? I'm alive because of what you did. Our child will exist because you chose me over a stranger. But Festus, we need to talk about what comes next. That charm, the power. It always has a price. Your grandfather told you, didn't he?" He nodded. "Then we need to be ready, because one day something will come to collect, and when it does, we face it together." Festus pulled her close, his hand on her stomach. "I won't let anything hurt you or our baby. I'll pay whatever price is demanded." "I know, but maybe we can pay it differently than you think." That night on the balcony, watching Lagos below, the city of dreams and nightmares, poverty and wealth, choices that change everything, Festus thought about Jonathan, the viper, now in prison, his grandfather's warning. What would the payment be? His life? His peace? His soul? Or worse, watching his child inherit this cursed power? "Amma, do you think God forgives us?" She was silent, then gestured to the training center, below. "I think God understands why we do what we do. Forgiveness isn't about whether we deserve it. It's about whether we learn from it, whether we use second chances to create something better. You tell me." Festus looked at his hands. The same hands that left a man to die, that fought and killed, that now taught and healed and built. He had taken dirty money, walked away from a dying man, embraced dark power, destroyed a criminal empire. Was it justice or sin, or simply human? The question would follow him forever, but so would Amma's smile, their child's future, the lives he'd changed. Perhaps that was the real payment, not death or suffering, but the weight of knowing, living every day with his choice, using power not for vengeance but protection, not for wealth but purpose. The charm hummed, a reminder of what he'd become. Amma's hand in his, a reminder of why, and Festus chose to believe that was enough. Did Festus deserve his wealth, or should he pay for abandoning that dying man? Tell me in the comments, was he a hero who did what he had to do, or a villain who justified murder? If this story made you think about the choices you'd make when everything is at stake, subscribe. I bring you stories where morality battles survival, where good people do terrible things, where every victory has a cost. What would you have done that rainy night? Would you have stayed with the dying stranger and let your wife die, or taken the money and lived with the guilt? Comment your honest answer, because the scariest thing about Festus's story isn't the mafia or the magic. It's that any of us could be him. One desperate night, one impossible choice, and suddenly we discover who we really are. Until the next story, may your choices be clear and your conscience find peace.